going on, everyone? And welcome to Around the Metaverse, our weekly show. We bring together some of the best content creators from the Web3 gaming community, talk about all the recent news, and give you guys everything you need to know to stay up to date. My name's Adam. I'll be your host today, but more importantly, and as always, we've got a great group of guests for y'all today. First and foremost, on this Monday, we've got CryptoStache in the house. How's it going today, CryptoStache?
Chilling.
Secret agent stash, actually, not in disguise, as a matter of fact.
True. No Chad disguise today.
No Chad disguise
That's
today.
how we're rolling. Yep.
Straight up stash.
I've literally been in this the entire day. There's other people that have watched me on multiple streams. Like this has been me the entire day. I didn't get out of the office. Stuck to the office. Chained here.
It's it's just it's a part of your identity now. That's how it's always been.
Someone needs to tell the boss, man. I need some days off.
Is it not like our high school senior photos where they just put like the top half thing on you?
Yeah, right, exactly. I'm not wearing pants right now, guys. Just so you know,
Yeah, no. Well, funny story for you guys watching. When we were in Bitcoin, when we were going around Bitcoin Miami, Stash wore shorts, and it looked like when we were
around Miami in this, it was so freaking hot I could not wear pants.
It was hot.
Bad idea though.
Stash had to go up on a stage at Shitcoin, our friend Ken Bozak's conference, and some people may or may not have thought he was like a streaker trying to jump on stage because shorts, the trench coat, is a little tricky mix there. But no, we're already way off topic. Sorry about that, guys. We've got some new faces on the show and some returning faces. First up, we've got on her second appearance here on Around the Metaverse, Kate Irwin, producer and gaming lead reporter with Decryptmedia. How's it going, Kate? Great to have you back.
Hi, thanks. Glad to be back. Glad to talk about gaming and NFTs today.
Awesome. Next up, we've got Dub, our friend Dub, content creator and head of partnerships over with our friend Soulbound. How's it going tonight, Dub? Thanks for coming on.
Going good. On a much better vibe than Stash over here today. Getting excited for the week, especially heading out to San Diego tomorrow for the Solana Play GG event.
Solana Play GG, baby. So yeah, if any of you guys watching out there are at the conference, hit up Dub because you might be able to hang with him there.
Wait, Dub, I got a pre-show question. What is your favorite game on Solana outside of Star Atlas?
Blade Right.
Oh.
Right. Testing you. All right.
Blade Right. And then last, but certainly not least, a new face here on Around the Metaverse. His first appearance, we've got Fresco, business development manager for Play Metalcore and a member of WolvesDAO. Fresco, happy to have you on the show, man. How's it going tonight?
It's going good. Happy to be here for the first time. I don't know why it took you guys so long to invite me.
I apologize.
Yeah, our team.
This guy right here.
Our team is also going to be in San Diego, but for Comic-Con, not for anything Solana related. So if anybody's going to Comic-Con, stop by. Metalcore will be showing off some new gameplay there.
I'll be there on Friday.
That's pretty sweet. And then, yeah, we've got a great show for you guys watching out there tonight. Thank you for hanging with us, and shout out to the agents in chat. I think we've got Gen X with us. We've got True Dukel with us, Gen X and Ank. Thank you guys for hanging with us on this Monday, and apologies, guys. We were away for the past couple of weeks, but back on Around the Metaverse tonight. Yeah, back on Around the Metaverse tonight. We've got a great show for you guys and some relatively breaking news, some pretty big news that we might see play out here, possibly by tomorrow, depending on if things go. Possibly by tomorrow, depending on how things go, with the Activision, Blizzard, and Microsoft deal that we've talked about a couple times on the show before. We're also going to be taking a look at some updated Google Play Store policy that gives a little bit more clarity on the direction they want to take with blockchain games. Actually, funny enough, courtesy of our friend Kate here, who provided the blog from the article from Decrypt that we all read before coming on here tonight. But let's jump right into things. First, we're talking about Microsoft. Are they all clear to buy Activision Blizzard? So recently announced that a judge, so the FTC here in the U.S. has been trying to block this deal for some time now, and a judge just ruled that the FTC couldn't block it, which was one of the last few hurdles that Microsoft needed to get this deal through. They're still, I think, not totally clear with the UK, but I don't know that they need the UK necessarily to have this done. And in the terms of their deal, it actually like says that it needs to be closed out by tomorrow. Otherwise, Microsoft's going to have to pay Activision a $3 billion fee. So like, or they need to mutually agree on extending the terms of the deal. So there's going to be some kind of development on this by tomorrow. I want to get your guys' opinions on what you think is going to happen here, and why it's been taking so long to kind of put this into the end zone. Stash, let me start with you. I mean, do you think we could see this deal closed by tomorrow, or do you think it's going to maybe get pushed, and Microsoft's going to have to pay a big fee here, or do you think they're going to mutually agree to like push it out?
Closed by 11:58 p.m. tomorrow.
Closed.
Yeah, I would honestly. Yeah, you either got to go for an extension or close the damn deal. I would say, man, that's a really hard one. I think they're going to try and push to close it, versus trying to do like an extension, because there's a lot wrapped up, doing extension, sure, but like there's a lot wrapped up in doing an extension of that nature legally, so you don't incur like, a fee is essentially what you're saying here. So you're not having to incur $1 billion fee, because the deal did not close. And the sucky thing about that is, Microsoft is trying their damnedest. It's not like they're just sitting on their hands doing nothing. Like this is one of those massive deals that we don't see happen a lot. And when I say that, I don't mean just in gaming. I mean period. Like globally affecting deals like this, a lot of times we'll see corporations merge, and big corporations, especially here in the United States. But this is something that definitely reaches far and wide in an industry that, the gaming industry, that grosses or puts more money out on the table than movies and books and TV combined. It's crazy. So it is a massive deal. I think a lot of people underestimate how big this is, and also not only that, but the precedent that this sets. But it needs to happen. We've talked about this multiple times. It needs to happen. Activision needs someone to step in. Microsoft is the best person for that. It's like, do you either let Activision die a slow rug pull death, or do you give it over to Microsoft? Like, I don't even know why the FTC would ever have been against this in the first place. They're just stupid and short-sighted. It's literally like they took a play out of Gary Gensler's handbook, and they're like, oh yeah, well let's just go with this one. I mean, if it's working for Gary, maybe it'll work for us too.
Well, yeah, and I think the FTC's one of their main sticking points was that, like, particularly with Microsoft buying Activision and Call of Duty being the game that it is, the franchise that it is, that it would become an exclusive game for Microsoft, and all kinds of monopoly
but that was,
considerations.
That's a bullshit as an excuse. So they already had that written in, that it wasn't that they made that deal, that they went and said, okay, yeah, no, we'll make sure, here it is in the deal, that it's not going to be exclusive for, I think it was 10 years. They made a 10-year deal so that it would be on both platforms and they'd be secured. I mean, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. And well, so yeah, and Sony signed also with a Call of Duty deal with Microsoft for that period, 10 years. And then they even came out, Activision, and said, like, I think they pulled Call of Duty off of Steam recently, and like they came out and were like, oh, like we fucked up doing that. Excuse me. We that was a bad move on our part. Like we want Call of Duty to be on as many platforms as possible, and Microsoft is taking the same position there. And it's weird that the FTC does want to block it, like you said, taking a page right out of Gary Gensler's book of I mean, making decisions that definitely don't benefit the consumer in any way, or the investor in his case. But Kate, let me ask you, I mean, why do you think it's been such a long legal process getting this deal through, and why do you think certain like parties, the UK, the FTC, I believe I think they were fighting with one other like entity at one point too. But why do you think it's been such a hurdle for them to get this kind of signed and done with?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think first of all, the legal system can move very slowly and it can take a long time. And there's a lot of paperwork and motions that have to get filed, and that takes a lot of time to be written up and then submitted, and that has to be reviewed, and it all has to be done during business hours. And so there's just like a lot of paperwork, right? Like if you look at the court documents, there's just mountains and mountains and mountains of documents, and that's just how the legal system works. Is you have to go through a lot of this, and so once things get filed, once there's claims filed or lawsuits filed, you have to go through that whole process. And that's why it takes so long, is literally just because of that. And there are a lot of ways, from what I understand, for lawyers and other folks to file motions to do different things, which can either shorten or lengthen the total duration of the suit. And so I think that's a big part of it, is just that these are massive, massive companies with massive lawyers and huge legal teams. And so it's just taking a long time because of the nature, like the scale of it. I also think it's just very interesting to see for the gaming space specifically. I mean, we look at Meta and Apple and Amazon, and they have all been allowed to exist in this massive state, right? Where they own so many different companies and have so many different products and have such a such huge sway over the industries of tech. Like you look at Google and Apple and the app stores there, it's kind of a duopoly, right? So it's interesting to see what the FTC is deciding to chase and what they're not deciding to chase. And I mean, yeah, I think they are, why they pursued it is, what they believe to be the best decision. But I think a lot of people disagree with that, obviously. And yeah, it's taken a long time to resolve, I think, because of the legal process.
Mhm. Well, yeah, and you bring up a good point too. I think a lot of people do like. Yeah, I think all parties involved, for the most part, like within the deal, and then fans of both companies or users within both companies of their products, want to see this go through too. We talked about it on the last couple of what's up, Stash?
Funny enough, you think that's the case. You'd think that was the case, that everyone recognizes as a gamer, hey, no, we want this. But there was a dude who had a side, like he tried to, there was a side injunction he was trying to get in this case, basically saying, no, here's why, and like the judge threw it out. But like literally people trying to like stop it on their own, for other usage, like for other reasons, like here's the reason why we really think this shouldn't go through. And the judge, I mean, it's weird. I mean, like, yeah, Kate makes a great point about Google and Apple and a couple of the companies that could be considered almost monopolies, and why the FTC doesn't go after them, but they're going after this deal, which is just, it's just so odd, because
Yeah,
it really wouldn't give them monopoly. Like literally they've built it in so it's not going to be. I don't. It's weird.
And like we talked about it on a couple shows ago, it's like Activision as a company is not in good shape either. Like they definitely like.
No.
I mean, Dub, let me ask you, like, ultimately, do you think that this merger, if it goes through, will be good for fans of Call of Duty and other Activision Blizzard titles? Like, do you think Microsoft is going to be a good home for like all of that IP? Like, are they gonna do a good job with everything?
For sure. I mean, like, just Activision, the whole thing needed to change. So they might not do a good job, but they'll do a better job than what's going on now, at least.
They might not. Yeah.
The other point for me is like, I think they're already planned out to like extend it, and I think it's going to extend tomorrow. I think that decision was made a while ago when things started getting all messy as it did. But either way, I think it's just going to make, and it getting extended is also going to make them want to do more and get more return on investment from it. So hopefully they spend more on this, and that'll convince Microsoft to double down on making it that much of a better investment for them, right?
Well, let me. I mean, if you think it's going to be extended tomorrow, then like, what's your guess on like, if you had to guess, when do you think like this actually comes to fruition?
I would hope within 2 months. I would imagine that they want to do something by Q4. Knowing the way these businesses operate and everything, I mean, they probably really want it done now. But like, I imagine they're planning for Q4, and if not, then it's an extension to Q3 of next year or something. I don't know, depending on where the market's at.
They're like, yeah, if every T is not crossed and every I is not dotted, we're not, it doesn't
Well,
happen.
you got to think about this like, okay, but why extend it? Why extend it if every hurdle has now been knocked down? Everything is already in place. It's not like they're changing the deal. In my mind, the deal would need to be extended if it needed to be changed. But at this point, if it's just like, okay, well, what we were waiting for was the outcome of this case, do we extend it or do we really need to? But you're right. I mean, they may have already just put this into play.
Yeah, and I would assume it wasn't. I don't know. Like, it just feels like it's so urgent now that they're at this like deadline that I just feel like it's planned for an extension. Otherwise, there'd be a different feel than the way.
Imagine.
No, you're right. That makes sense.
Imagine if they're like playing hard. One side's like, it's like, right now as we're speaking, like one side's playing hardball. They're like, we're not going to sign for the extension. You guys are going to owe us $3 billion. Like, change the terms of the deal. And like for something that isn't, less worth than $3 billion. Watch the Netflix. You're going to be making a movie. You're going to be making a movie about this, Netflix, in a month or two.
$3 billion's a lot to say, but like in the deal, it's only 1%. So like, that's where I go back to the ROI thing and be like, yeah, great. Now they need to spend more to even make it more awesome and all of this and that. And like, I mean, at the end of the day, it feels like they're trying to compete with Fortnite, and that's going to take a lot for them to do.
What I'm curious about is why you guys want it to go through like so badly, because everyone I've talked to is like really pro merger, and I'm just really curious why. Like I play Diablo, Overwatch, Call of Duty, all these games, and I just wonder why people want it to happen.
I'm also really curious about that because the day-to-day at Activision isn't really supposed to change, right? Like the CEO's staying on. So I don't know that the acquisition fixes the problems that people have with Activision, right?
I think that we'll see a lot of shakeup, honestly. It may not necessarily be at the top level, but I think that we'll see a lot of shakeup when it comes to the company culture, which is, I think, the biggest issue there. And not just that, but like, you got to look at some of the games here and like the support and things that they've done and the way they've launched a lot of these titles as well, where it's like, oh, just launch it now, we'll fix the bugs later. So there's a lot of those things out there. I mean, in particular, with some of the more popular games like Call of Duty, but also with Diablo 2. There's a lot of bugs when Diablo launched too. So I mean, I think that they as a company, Activision needs that new life breathed into them. I think they just have kind of lost the captain at the helm type of thing. You got a CEO, man, but I just think that there's a lot that could be done here with that expansion of bringing on, Microsoft kind of backing things and pushing things in a new direction.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I played Call of Duty for a while, like COD 4, all of it, then fell off of Call of Duty, fell back into Warzone, lost interest really quick on Warzone, and like just I'd love a reason to get back into Call of Duty, but everything that has been displayed so far is like not interesting, and that's where my hopes are, is like maybe there will be something that the masses flock to, all my friends flock to, and I feel forced to get back into Call of Duty, and that's been missing for a while now.
It would be cool if they did shake things up and like we did see some changes. I mean, I think Microsoft, to remain relevant, they do.
And you think about this, like, why does Activision want to be acquired? Why are they okay with this? So it's like, as much as like, well, why do gamers want it? Well, why does Activision want it then? If everything is all gravy and the ship is sailing smooth and all the games are great and everything is good, why sell? Why merge? Why not just keep doing what you're doing? There are problems. The apple is rotten at the core.
I mean, it's probably partially that, but also, I mean, I'm sure the big fat check that whoever's getting a big fat check is probably okay getting a big fat check, right?
Money's definitely going to drive it. Definitely going to drive it. But I mean, gaming is also the largest. It's also the largest, entertainment demographic out there. It's kind of like the dude who wins the lottery. He's going to opt for getting the lump sum up front versus getting the full, like, you're getting like what, 30% or 40% if you do lump sum. versus like, hey, if you just are patient and get the money over the next course of the next
Set
10,
up that
20 years,
anonymous
you get the whole
trust,
thing.
baby. Set up that anonymous trust.
I mean, I specifically wonder what's going on with Blizzard because, like, yes, Activision is like Call of Duty, and they also own King as well. It's like ABK, right? It's Activision Blizzard King, which is like already a merger of 3 companies. But I wonder what's happened with Blizzard because I think a lot of people wondered about like Diablo Immortal and like what the point of that was. People wondered
Don't
about
you guys
like
have
why
phones?
why it took so long for like Diablo 4 to come out and like
Mhm.
Overwatch 2, and then Overwatch 2 PvE got canceled, and Overwatch 2 now basically feels like a slightly nicer graphical reskin of Overwatch 1 with like one new game mode. And so people are like, what is this? Like, what's happening behind the scenes? Like, StarCraft 2, I think, is not really being developed. Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm are not really being developed. And so I wonder like when and what is going on there, and like why there isn't like a lot more substantial game development happening there. And I wonder if it's just like they were in like a maintenance phase where they were just like maintaining stuff. And I know like Diablo 4 was a huge lift for them. But I still wonder why like they didn't have enough people on staff to like make what was planned for Overwatch 2 to actually happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that hopefully with this merger, that Microsoft, money and
Yeah.
management will help inject some more of that fire underneath their ass to get some of these titles and things out and do them correctly. We're definitely in a trend with that.
Yeah, I think Blizzard's been treading water for a long time, right? I mean, they're as big as they are and as successful as they've been with some titles. Like, they're not immune to. They haven't been immune in their past of like failed game titles, right? Like StarCraft Ghost and Titan, the infamous Titan, like and then obviously Overwatch is born from these things, but Heroes of the Storm like really never caught on, right?
Yeah.
So their hits have been like grand slams, right? They're not getting a ton of base hits, I think, in between all that. They're like that 240 first baseman, right? That hits 40 home runs a year, but's going to strike out like 200 times. So yeah, Blizzard's been in an interesting place for me for a while. Yeah, I don't know. Game development's just hard, like it's like you can have the best idea. Like Heroes of the Storm should have been like the coolest thing in the world, right? And it wasn't. And everybody wanted it to be, but it just wasn't. So I think, yeah, Blizzard has been kind of in a precarious state for pretty much their entire existence.
Yeah, man. Heroes of the Storm is like has a soft spot in my heart because like I remember playing it a little bit when it came out and like being not very enthused with it, right? As was everyone else, but like the idea of it was great, like crossover Blizzard IP like MOBA.
Dude, it was the first
yeah.
like interoperable like crossover share IP game. It was like, you look at a lot of like blockchain games and think like, oh, this was a very early attempt at that. We didn't know it at the time, right? But should have been this cool thing that just never really took off. And I think Overwatch was the same way, right? Like had a lot of potential.
Maybe just too early for people. I don't know.
Overwatch still has like an esports scene and like a competitive community and like people that actually play. Like HOTS doesn't have an esports team anymore. Like they were totally defunded. Their whole scene was totally defunded, and like they have a way smaller player base.
They announced that they're not supporting the game at all anymore. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that was like 2 years ago.
Esports has definitely taken its own hit, just in general.
Well, I mean, I wonder what we're going to see here by the end of tomorrow, or the end of tomorrow, for this deal. I mean, hop in Discord. Actually, I probably should. I was about to make a joke. I don't know if I should say it on YouTube, to be honest. But we'll be speculating on the outcome of this in Discord. So hop in our Discord after this if you want to hang out and chat about it. But let's hop into our next topic here. We're going to be taking a look at Google Play Store becoming NFT friendly potentially, where they just recently, news broke last week that they updated their Play Store policy to give a little bit more clarity on, how they're going to be letting NFT games onto the store and operate in the store. In contrast to, we talked about Apple a while ago on here. One of the big benefits of this Play Store policy is that they're actually going to allow NFT projects or people to purchase NFTs that allow that ungate content. And they're not going to stop people from, like, it's not going to matter where you purchase the NFT. You could purchase the NFT from any marketplace anywhere, and you'll like be able to play that through the Play Store as an Android user, and be able to unlock that content via your NFT. In contrast to with Apple, where that wasn't the case, and you had to specifically be going through the Android or the Apple platform, and they wouldn't allow that otherwise. And I think Google is making a good step forward here with giving developers and specifically mobile game developers in the Web3 space some clarity on this, and giving them a place where there's a little bit more friendly terms to come and launch their mobile games. Kate, let me ask you first. I mean, do you think Google's new policy is a step in the right direction for mobile blockchain game companies and the developers?
Yeah, it's huge actually. I mean, even just the language that they use in their blog post is they are really framing this and explaining this as like we want to embrace new technology and we see new technology as a form of innovation and we see blockchain basically as a new technology and therefore as a new type of innovation, but we want to make sure that our users are still safe and we want to make sure that, basically that they're not liable for anything that happens, but also that their users are safe. Excuse me. So that's how they're really framing it, that they want to have a transparent experience as well. So they want users to know clearly like if something's an NFT and what that means, and just sort of to create that transparency and like demystify like what all these technical terms mean for users. So I think they're definitely taking a very reasonable approach. They're not yelling about blockchain from the rooftops, but they're also being extremely reasonable and saying like, hey, this is a new technology. We want to allow our developers to use it. And we think, these developers are using it in a way that allows their players to unlock different content. And we want to make sure that the players know that when something's an NFT and so on. So it's exciting. I think the one thing that some folks who are very into crypto will be disappointed about is that you can't do it in any kind of gambling context because you would then need to be licensed for gambling, and that's like a whole other level of restrictions and regulations there, which I honestly think is super fair because gambling is a whole other ball game. Whereas if you're just buying an NFT that is a gun weapon skin in a game and you're just equipping it onto your character, like that's not gambling in my opinion. So I think the line there will have to be very clear, and game developers will have to be like super honest about whether something is being used for cosmetic purposes or whether it's unlocking some kind of gambling mechanic.
Well, yeah, and so yeah, like you said, every game for you guys watching out there, that's going to be every blockchain game that's going to be, or Web3 game, whatever the branding term is going to, whatever's going to stick eventually, probably Web3. When those games are going to be listed in the Play Store, they're just like they are in Epic Games Launcher. There's going to be kind of a run-of-the-mill disclaimer about, hey, this game has some kind of crypto technology in it. Make sure you're aware of that. And you bring up a good point, Kate, about the gambling aspect too, because I think it's going to be interesting where this I think is going to spill over ultimately, and eventually when a problem arises into just the normal gaming space where there's the controversy over loot boxes. Because I think it mentions in there that loot boxes could be considered gambling when it's tied to an NFT because there's real world value associated with that item potentially. And like there's a ton of mobile games out there that still use the loot box,
bro. And that's where I was going with this next. It's crazy, and I love the transparency that they're bringing here, but it's crazy to think that they'll be so incredibly clear with what they are going to allow when it comes to NFTs. But if it's not an NFT and it's in a loot box and it's technically still gambling the way it actually works, that's fine. No, that's fine though. Like it's really there's gonna be and this is something we talked about on the show before. Something is
I mean, it's not gambling if you never get any return, right?
but you say that, but like no, you never, maybe no direct return right then. But think about like being able to open cases in something and then being able to extract it in some sort of way. Now, obviously, mobile developers don't want that, but that is the way that things are going. I mean, when you look at the amount of money that CS:GO cases generate, yeah, it's because it's tied and attached to a very, very popular game. But the velocity of money for that particular for that particular setup of how it works it has been a huge model for other people. And so you think about it like, okay, well, if gamers start to see that, hey, yeah, I should be able to own these assets and do things with them, and hey, it's kind of messed up that I'm paying, $15 to open this thing in this game, and then I can't do anything with it after that. Well, then do they change that policy later and say, okay, no, this is all gambling, and we got to get rid of it all, and we got to investigate it all, and the FTC or the SEC is going to come after all of it, or maybe probably CFTC, not SEC, but or is it all good? Because we're on kind of this little teeter-totter, right? It's been a big it's been a big topic in gaming for a long time. It is cases open, just case openings in general. Even if you can't sell the asset, is it still technically gambling? And it kind of works in that kind of way. Like, hey, baseball cards work the same way, man. You don't know what you're going to get in the freaking pack.
Not if you work at the place that's manufacturing the baseball.
That's the way to go. Ooh, look at these shiny gold Pokemon cards, like foil. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. The policy specifically says that an example of a violation is apps that sell bundles of NFTs without disclosing the specific contents and values of the NFTs. So I would read that to say, yeah, loot boxes are no.
And think about it. Even if you can't go and sell the NFT afterwards. Right, so think about it being a Soulbound NFT. Like, they don't make a distinction between that. So
yeah, I think if you're just buying a bundle but you don't know what the value is, I think that's a no.
Well, then, yeah, I mean, in that case,
and staking
then
too. So real quick too, like they talk about like they use that term specifically. I think staking in general, and you may think about like, oh, staking as in like in gambling, but think about an NFT that you can stake to get rewards with, which is a pretty popular and common thing as well. Like, hey, you have this NFT, you stake it, and you get these rewards, or you hold it in your wallet and you get these rewards.
I think they differentiated between those two things, where staking in terms of like staking something on a bet, like I'm wagering this NFT.
That's what I mean, but the language is the same. That's what I'm saying.
I asked them that specifically, and they said that she wasn't referring to it in the gambling in the crypto context. She was referring to it in the wagering context. So it's still not like totally clear to me about like crypto staking, but yeah, they haven't really explicitly addressed like the crypto staking thing, and like if you could theoretically have an app where you just like stake your NFTs.
Or
that's what I'm saying. So because the language is technically the same, it uses the same term, staked, right? And I think that's kind of the problem, because they say, oh no, we meant this kind of staking, but there's no real good way to designate between gambling, like stakes for gambling, and then staking an NFT and getting rewards, which is interesting.
This is going to like really segment the market, because the games that are developed now fit all of those descriptions pretty well. And like, they're still going to develop, and they're still going to find their route to mass adoption with or without. So like, it's going to be really interesting to see the different products that emerge, because gacha gaming as a category is like, it doesn't feel supported here, but like it's still too big to be ignored. So really interesting.
We need a like a Web3. I mean, I'm sure this is not a new topic of conversation, but I'm sure it's been discussed before. Like a decentralized app store, right? It's like everyone imagine like everyone knows how to download an APK file and install it on their phone. and like
do you know how many wallet draining apps are gonna drain everyone's wallets?
Well, so forever with gaming in crypto, and we test a bunch of new games here on the channel, and like I have definitely downloaded files that I've been like, oh God, please, this team is reputable, like please, for the love of God, like don't let this be malware of some kind. And I'm honestly surprised that we have not seen some kind of like major like an event like that happen yet, to be perfectly honest.
Well, we see it every day.
Well, no, I mean with a known project in the Web3 gaming space. You know what I mean? Where like, I mean, a lot of the, like Metalcore, for example, you guys have your own launcher, but are you on other launchers as well?
No, we're actually we've moved away from that. We're on just every game store now. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I'm stupid, man. I remember.
No, you were right. You were right at one point, though. Yeah.
I remember when that.
I'm glad you guys ditched it, because that launcher sucked.
I remember the announcement for Epic too. Now I remember the announcement for Epic too.
Yeah.
I'm just being real with you, man. I
Launchers
mean, it was
are for anybody who doesn't know, launchers are actually really kind of a pain in the ass to build. So that's why nobody does it, except for in Web3, there's like 18 that are fighting it out. So.
But I mean, I don't know how it hasn't happened yet that there hasn't been like a big game like imagine one day Axie everyone who has like Axie installed on their computer just like, oh, all your NFTs are gone. You know what I mean? Like, not to put Axie under the spotlight like that, but that's what I mean. Like when a big game, like, or someone that has gotten their, software on everyone's computer, like just decides, oh hey, there's a new patch.
I mean, there's a balance act there. I think that like the team needs it. If that's the intent, they got to know that like this is a burnable project, and so you would not want to be doxxed, like probably incorporated in some random country that is not easy to trace, and there's a lot of I think there's a lot of issues with something like that. I mean, not that it couldn't happen. I'm sure it can, but it would just be something you'd really have to think about and set up like well in advance, or it was like a developer attack where it's one bad actor like that. I could see like the lead dev decides, oh, I'm gonna put this freaking back. Screw these guys, they're not paying me enough. I'm putting a back door in this game, and then is the one who can run away with funds or something like that. I mean, there's all kinds of shit that can pop
typically,
up.
Games usually have like a build person, right? So who's in charge of kind of that thing. So that person does have a lot of power. I probably shouldn't have said that to however many people are watching. Don't know, those people are going to get targeted now. But
yeah, it's like, you just gave me an idea.
Yeah,
he's like, put a backdoor in Call of Duty, or I'm going to murder your family.
But going back to Google, I mean, between
sorry.
Google's like Google Play Store and the Epic Games Store, this is all like really good news for blockchain games because both of them are saying like, hey, we're going to allow this and we are going to make sure that everyone knows the rules and hopefully people follow those rules. And if you don't, you're out. Which I think is the move. I think like regulating this stuff and allowing it and keeping players safe, like that makes me feel happy as a gamer. I don't want to be on some decentralized app store where I could be downloading like a wallet drainer. I want to feel like I can trust the launchers and the app stores to do the due diligence, and Google, it's interesting. Google's working with Mythical Games and Reddit. Those are like 2 out of the 12 of the partners that they're working with. So they're doing it in like a really slow rollout, which is interesting as well. I mean, I think Google seems way more involved with the game developers, with the people that are trying to do NFTs. Whereas Epic is a little bit more like, we're not endorsing this, but here it is if you want it, which is kind of interesting. But maybe that's just a legalese for Epic, but that's kind of been, they've sort of been like, okay, we'll offer it, here you go, but like, we're not telling you to buy NFTs.
It's a positioning thing, right? It's Steam said no, so they said yes over here, and I think the same thing's happening with Google and Apple, right? One is kind of provide. It's like like we're all probably old enough to remember like HD DVDs versus like Blu-ray, right? And you set yourself up for one, and if you're right, you make a shit ton of money. If you're wrong, you lose a little bit, but they're not going to go under because of it, right? If they are right and blockchain takes off, Google, the only thing that happens with Apple is there's a little bit of money lost. It's nothing that they can't overcome, right? But I think it's positioning on both parts. If the industry and this little niche in gaming, takes off, Epic's already set up as like the leader in that area, right? So I think it's smart. And the thing I love about what Google's doing is forcing games to be transparent. Like 6 months, a year ago, everybody's talking about like, oh, we're gonna just hide the fact that we're a blockchain game. And I hated it when people would like openly say that, because I feel like Trojan horsing people is like never the right way to onboard people, and there was that talk for the longest time of everybody just saying like, oh, this is how we're gonna get people into blockchain. We're just gonna lie to them, And so I really like the fact that Google is telling games to be upfront, that people are going to know exactly what they're interacting with and using in their games. Because I don't think we should really hide anything about the games that we're building. We should build gaming experiences that are good enough to overcome the bad word that is blockchain.
I mean, I don't think the mentality was so much of like, let's lie and like throw
there's just a lot of these suckers. They'll never know anyways.
No, I know that, but like, just build a better game that's gonna make people want to learn that thing. And it's like the number one thing that whenever we kind of face that challenge, like within Studio 369, like the thing is like, it will make the game better. Like, because if it's good enough, like they're gonna come. So I know that people weren't like lying about it, right? But the fact that people were trying to like Trojan horse people into it was just like, you can be upfront about what you are, be real about what you are, like know who you are,
be
and then
true to yourself. Blockchain games, be true to yourself.
And transparency. I mean, transparency is a cornerstone of what I consider Web3 gaming. A lot of people are just like, there is no Web3 gaming; it's just gaming. And I go, no, man. Like there are aspects to our community and to what we do here that go beyond just like, oh, it has NFTs, so it's Web3 gaming. Like Web3 gaming to me is an ethos, and transparency is one of those cornerstones. So it's something that we push and tout and say, look, this is one of the great things about what blockchain technology brings to games, and why we call it Web3 is because of the transparency. So I love the fact that Google is doing this, that they're making it transparent, that people know. I think that gives more visibility. It also puts a little bit of pressure on Apple as well, which I love. And this is a temporary thing. How long do you guys honestly think it will be like this? Will there be a big tag that says, this is NFT, warning, here's an NFT game? Like, it's going to be for a little while, but then eventually it won't be there because people won't care, because it won't make a difference, because everything will have it.
I hope you're right. I just think that because blockchain transactions are irreversible, that there's always a chance that they may need that sort of disclaimer, because like customers in terms of like customer service, like if I go and cry about my account getting stolen, like there isn't really a backdoor for them to go and get me my NFT back, right? So I think like there might be some extent of like user education. Like I had to create an XRP wallet the other day to play Ragsy's game called Space Mermaids.
Yeah.
And I created it, and it's called a Zoom wallet, XUMM. And they tell you, they make you agree and acknowledge like different things that are actually really good for like basic onboarding for like the crypto clueless. Okay. Like they tell you like, I understand that blockchain transactions are irreversible and Zoom cannot help me if I sign the wrong thing. And then you have to wait like 5 seconds before you click next. Like they force you to read the sentences that say like the basic things like, hey, you need to recognize that this is irreversible if you do things, and you need to be very careful and don't lose your keys. Don't put them on the internet. Like they made you go through this like very basic list that, we all know as people that have bought and sold these things, but the average Joes are going to need that hand holding too. And so I think, maybe that'll eventually go away in terms of like the language and stuff. But I think until it becomes like extremely well known, like all those sorts of best practices, like there's always going to be like hey, this is irreversible, like be careful, like here are the basics.
But like right now, if I buy some Farmville keys when I'm playing Farm, can I get those back? Can I get the money back for that?
I think there's some
Probably.
cases like
he's like no, you can't.
Crypto's the death of the refund. Digital refunds are done.
Right.
Say your cancel your card.
So there's two things you're kind of talking about there. It's the transactions and things outside of the app, like the control of that app. Because when you think about in context of the Apple App Store, what's happening within the game you're playing or the app that you're using, you're not necessarily interacting with the blockchain outside of what the developers have allowed you to do with that game, right? With a wallet in general, that makes sense, because who knows what the fuck you're using that wallet for? A billion different things. But the game is very specific, right? So there is, I'm sure, even if a transaction is 100% non-reversible and immutable, the game could still, you could still say, hey, you know what? I didn't mean to sell this one thing in the marketplace. And I'm not talking about a P2P market, but just selling it for whatever. Like we'll say like, you earned a chicken skin and then you sold it back to the game for 5 eggs that you can then use back in the game. Now, if you say, hey, I didn't mean to sell that fucking chicken, guys. I really want that chicken back. Can you just deduct 5 eggs out of my account and give me the chicken? Now, that's something they could still manage to do.
Yeah. Well, that's just like, what's a game that...
Even if they're NFTs, is what I'm saying.
Is it like, well, and because it's happening with internally within their system. Well, and that's the same sort of like, I'm trying to think of a game where it's like, Or like it's like in Terraria. I don't know if any of you guys have played Terraria, but it's like you accidentally trash one of your items, and like the most recent item that you trash from your inventory, like if you did it by accident, you can pull back out of the trash.
Same like
Yeah,
in
World of
Diablo,
Warcraft
like,
did
hey, I
that
didn't mean to
too.
sell that
Yeah.
shit. Oh my, I clicked all the
Yeah.
things. That was my I didn't mean to sell that, man. Because they even
It's
make
like,
you
oh,
like
man.
you
they
sell
give
your
you a little
legendary and then,
notification. Hey, this is a legendary item. You sure you want to sell this shit? Like, yeah, burn it. Or you know, blacksmith that thing. And
give
just
me
all the pieces back.
give me the mats. Give me the mats,
Give me the
please.
mats. Yep, exactly.
Give me
Well,
the mats.
Yeah.
the other thing, sitting back and thinking again on Google Play and Mythical, like at least they are with NFL Rivals testing gacha stuff. I mean, I'm buying mystery packs and getting sure I could go and read exactly what's in the pack and everything. It's a mystery to me because I'm not. But I mean, they are truly testing that water already. So
Looking like a true gamer.
like there's hope at least for
Gamers
like
not reading the terms of
cases.
service.
Nah,
No
give
one
me
reads
the
that shit,
game.
man. They know
Hey,
that.
let me
They know
guess, you
that.
don't have a Zoom wallet either.
Yeah, and I'm
Zoom
also
wallet.
rushing every single play so I can break the game and just win everyone because that works in the game right now. By the way,
Dub's got the hot tips for NFL Rivals.
but I mean, now I want to go test their customer service and see like what happens and see if I can get a refund somewhere or something, you know, and like. At least they're doing this now, and there is a place for us to kind of test the waters here, which is interesting.
I love the comment from this guy that says, "Bro has an entire weed pharmacy in his room."
Yeah, I think that was targeted at Dub. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Dub, what strains of succulents do you have back there?
Oh man, it's just succulents. I swear.
It's just succulents.
That's what you see behind him. You guys don't realize in front of him is where all the good stuff is at. Like he's got this big giant room and it's all glass and yeah, like that.
No, it's Stash. We're the GIA, man. The CIA isn't far off. The feds might be watching, man. You know, the feds might be watching.
But back to Google, I mean, I wasn't super surprised by this news, to be honest. Like, I was a little bit like surprised in like a happy way, like to what extent they've been working with these companies like hand in hand to develop policies. But like, I wasn't that surprised because I know that they have a whole Web3 division. They have like a couple people working on strategy in Web3 and cloud and how that all connects to Google. So they have been like very open to it and supportive of it. And like basically ever since I met their like head of Web3 and strategy, I was like, oh, cool. You guys like actually are cool with blockchain. You understand it. You're nerds. Like you want to learn how it works. You want to figure out how it could make sense and how like Google Cloud could be involved with that. And so they see themselves as like a part of that ecosystem. Like
That's awesome.
their head of Web3 literally said like, we see Google's cloud as like a layer 0 for crypto. Like for better or worse, you know, maybe some decentralization diehards would not like that, but
Yeah.
still interesting that is how they want to position themselves in the ecosystem and that they are supportive.
Bitcoin powered by Google.
Yeah, well, I mean, they need to. I mean, that's kind of their role here. You know, if they weren't doing that, then you know, do they miss out on some revenue? Sure, but then somebody else picks up that banner. Somebody else picks up that flag. And as Google, you don't really want that. You know, you want to maintain your position everywhere. That's why everyone says like, well, you know, advertise. Why? If you're Coke or Pepsi, why do you have to keep advertising? If you're like, why do you have to? That's exactly why. It's just you continue to maintain your market share even though you're on top. You know, it's not like they just stopped advertising. That you still see Coke commercials every day, all the time. Well, maybe not so much anymore with like things how they are, but in general, that's the idea. Is like why would you not go after something like this and explore it when the disadvantages are not that much, not that many, and the advantages are great. Like, what would they really lose if they go after aggressively? What are they really going to lose? Are they going to lose so many customers that they're going to go under? No. Are they going to get in a crazy lawsuit that's really going to tank Google? No, of course not. So it makes sense that they go that direction, I think.
No.
Yeah, it's like Epic, right? Like everybody thought it was big news that they allowed like 20 blockchain games on. It's like, no, they just let 20 good games on their platform. Like they were going to do that anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think
it's still something. It's still a point. It's still a point of contention, I guess, is what it comes down to. You know, people still see it as like, you know, there's a lot of contention between gamers and NFT games, and so putting those things on a platform where there's lots of gamers, you know, hey, how's it going to turn out? Maybe they're going to turn on us. I don't know.
I know. I don't think it's like directly related for like the main reasons, but like Like, it's just funny to think that, you know, I feel like if you could chart the like amount of hate that gamers had for like Web3 and crypto games against like the overall crypto market cap, it's like the less like in the bull market there was all kinds of hate, right? I mean, probably mainly because like a lot of people, a lot of bad games,
A lot of
a lot of
exposure.
yeah, you know, a lot of just, you know, eyes on the whole situation. And it's like now that nothing's worth any money for the most part, like no one cares, and there's not, you know, like I mean, there's still some headlines coming out on like Kotaku about, you know, like negative spin articles on Web3 games and things like that, but not nearly as much. And you know, I think it's like, you know, it's funny how much progress we've made in this niche, just like with the market continuing to just dump on us, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I think everyone has like their own taste too with blockchain games. Like within blockchain games and Web3 games, there's such a spectrum of like what the game mechanics could look like and what the game experience could look like. Like some of these games, you know, you're constantly having to tab out to go to some marketplace to buy something, to sell something, and then you go back into the game. Other games, you never really have to do a transaction at all if you don't want
Mhm.
to. And so I think
Mhm.
like there's going to be different types of games for different people, catering to different people. I'm more of the camp of like the less I have to buy and sell and transact, the better. Like I want it to feel super organic and like kind of safe. Like I kind of like lower stakes games where I can just like where I feel like I have more control and it's a bit more like I can earn my way to the top or whatever. But yeah, everyone's going to have their own like taste too. And so
Mhm.
gamers are going to say, "Oh, this game sucks. Oh, this game's good. This game sucks." So it's like, yeah, everyone has their own opinion. Like
Or
it's a game. Like you have an opinion, just like you
Yeah,
might
that's
hate the
gaming.
Star Wars movies or love them. Like everyone has their own, you know,
No one hates
taste.
Star Wars movies. You take that back right now. No one
I,
What
ever
I
said
about
that ever.
episode
Star
one?
Star Wars fans hate Star Wars movies. Stash. Star Wars
It's true.
fans hate Star Wars movies.
That's the most
That's
true
true.
thing anybody has said on this whole show.
No, but Kate, I think you bring up a great point, and that's actually a perfect transition into what we're going to have as our lightning round here on the show tonight. As I want to ask each one of you guys what your favorite games are, both in Web 2 and in Web 3 right now. So we're going to go in order. We'll start with you, Kate. We're going to go Kate, Stash, Fresco, Dub. And so, Kate, you're up first. One quick, you know, one sentence, one couple sentence answer. Currently, what's your favorite Web 2 game to play, and what's your favorite Web 3 game to play?
Okay. Favorite Web 2 game is still Overwatch 2. Favorite Web 3 game is Grand Saga for now.
Okay, all right. Grand Saga's been hot. You know, it's been looking good. Stash, you're up next. Currently, what's your favorite Web 2 game to play, and what's your favorite Web 3 game to play?
Ooh, okay. Like that I'm playing right now, Web 2 is gonna be Jedi Survivor. I gotta finish it, man. I love it and I gotta finish it. Web 3 is Dead Drop, 100%.
Dead Drop. Shout out Doc. Shout out Doc.
100%, man. That game has massive potential.
You guys need to do a collab, Stash. You guys would look so good in your costumes together.
Mustache off.
You know,
There's that legendary picture.
you know what it is? I think he's afraid. I think Dr. Disrespect is afraid to be standing next to me, even though he towers over me. He's got like 7 inches on me at least. But I think he's afraid because he sees how good I look and he sees the mustache. He's like, dude, this guy, he could take a piece of my pie. I don't know if I want that. Nah, he's a good guy. We had good chats.
All right, Fresco, you're up next, man. Currently, what's your favorite Web 2 game to play, and what's your favorite Web 3 game to play?
Yeah, favorite Web 2 game. Tears of the Kingdom is the best game ever created. I go on and on why Tears of the Kingdom is the most beautiful work of art that's ever been made in media. Web 3 game right now. Am I allowed to say my own game?
Yeah,
Hell
of
yeah.
course.
It probably is Metalcore. I intentionally joined the Metalcore team. I had a few options when I was job hunting, and I chose Metalcore for a reason. Anybody can come play at San Diego Comic-Con. Dove, you should go play at San Diego Comic-Con. Other than my own game, I genuinely love the Bornless. I think they're going to be a really
Bornless, we like them.
yeah, they're a sleeper for me, and I think it's going to have a appeal to a really large audience.
Definitely a sleeper too. Like they deserve more coverage.
They do.
You know, they're
We've
worthy of
covered
more
them a lot.
exposure.
I've covered the game a lot, and it's crazy, you know, for some weird reason, like it doesn't get a lot of views or a lot of people like I'm like, this game is actually really good, and maybe it's the horror element, you guys. I don't know.
2 weeks.
No, it's the Web3
We're doing a
audience. The
tournament.
Web3 gaming audience is still, it's not ready for a game like that.
Yeah.
The Web3 gaming
Not
audience
ready.
is still just a little. I don't say it negatively, but it's just a little immature right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But the
All right.
28th and the 30th, that weekend, first access weekend for the Born List, be there because I'm going to be there.
Dub's gonna be there. Everybody. So yeah, Dub.
I'll come smack you around.
Last but certainly
Bring
not
it.
least, what's your favorite Web 2 game right now, and what is your favorite Web 3 game right now?
Right now, playing Rocket League every single day with my boys. We're doing the tournaments every single day, and then
Solo or duos or triples?
we run triples and duos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're literally on in the evening. That's what I'm doing. Web 3, it's I give it to Sparkball. Sparkball is still my favorite game. That once it was available in my hands, I couldn't stop playing it.
That's another game that doesn't get talked about the way it should, man. It's fucking awesome. Sorry, I don't know if I can say that. Awesome
I still haven't played it, man. I still have not got a chance to play it. Hardball team, reach out to me.
Yeah.
Their little testing weekend was really short, right? I wanted to play, but it was only like a couple days, and I was like, oh, I don't have time. I'm doing like 10 other articles. I'm like, oh no. So yeah,
I would have picked Grand Saga too, but like I got sick because I lack of sleep deprivation from playing that game too much. So like now it's down there in my list. Like, I'm upset with it. Like I'm not even level 30. I'm
in-game name.
It's Dub.
And you know what I think? I think everyone who's playing at the high level, I think they gave up right now because the last dungeon is like bugged or something, and
we fixed it. We've been running it with the devs, trying to find and fix the bug.
I saw that.
It's been such a cool experience. First of all, but it's like my 2 a.m. and I've just been like 4 hours a day. I got horrendously sick from it, and like I'm level 29. I'm not even 30 for the sweatshirt and everything, so I'm hurt.
I know it's a good game though. When you play it to the point where the rest of your life suffers, you got a good game.
It was my first MMO that I really, really like. I didn't get to do that with World of Warcraft, and it was just because there's so many people that were like supportive of me to play and everything, and I never had that with WoW. So,
what class did you play in Grand Saga?
I picked a tank.
Nice. Yeah, I saw a lot of the purple dudes walking around. A lot of people picked the tank.
Well, with the whole growing thing,
Dub's got big tank energy over there.
Big tank energy.
I just like supporting my team.
Big tank energy. No, I think that's great, man. And I think Sparkball 2 definitely doesn't get enough love. For me, I think right now my favorite Web 2 game. I like rarely ever play video games, but sometimes like I wish I could play some of the newer ones, but I'll have to take it back to like. I haven't played the new Forza Horizon 3, I think, but Forza Horizon 2, if I do have some time to play games, I like to, mod a car up and drift around in Forza 2 a little bit is fun. And then Web 3 games, I also have put in probably the most hours of like probably an hour or two in Dead Drop. And I'm terrible at it, but it's a lot of fun. I'm really bad, but it's a lot of fun. So those are mine, but and thank you guys for sharing yours. That is it for tonight. We're running out of time here on Around the Metaverse. Shout out to all you guys in the audience with us still watching. Thank you for sticking with us tonight. Before we go out, make sure you guys check the description for all of the links to our guest channels in the description below. Make sure to spread the love on them. Check them out. Give them a follow as well. And then make sure you like and subscribe to Stash before you hop off too. But that's it for tonight. We'll be back next Monday for another episode of Around the Metaverse, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. And thank you guys for hanging with us. That's it. We out.